The first video game I ever purchased was Overwatch for my 14th birthday. You can imagine how cheated I felt when I found out that my laptop wasn't built to play a video game that requires 50 gigabytes of hard drive space. You can see the horrible gameplay in my oldest YouTube video called I Suck at Overwatch. I ended up getting a PC that could support the game and my funny little videos, so we can also thank Overwatch for the existence of my entire channel. But the first video game I'd ever played was League of Legends at the ripe age of way too young. After all these years and growing to the point where the only video game I actively play is Stardew Valley, there's been one thing that kept my interest in both of these franchises throughout the past decade. And it got me thinking. If Overwatch and League of Legends both released a movie to drop on the same day, at the same time, which one would I see first? Overwatch versus League of Legends Cinematics. Who comes out on top? Ladies, gentlemen, and creatures of the dark, that is exactly what we are here today to find out. What we'll be looking at in this video is style, animation, music composition, setting design, company controversy, and the takeaway idea of the cinematic universe. And no, Arcane doesn't count. Now, let's start with Overwatch. Blizzard was really good at leaning into the style of the characters coming off as action figures or toys. They never fell into the trap of losing their craft while trying to make things unbelievably realistic. The "that's not what real people look like" argument falls flat against Overwatch because yeah, they're supposed to look like dolls. Take for instance the first trailer for Overwatch. By leaning into the TV superhero trope, they can give exposition to the storyline in a direct and concise way. They show that the goal of Overwatch is saving humanity and retaining global peace, but they've since disbanded, so humanity went into a global war and all we got was a stupid museum. Throughout the trailer, we've got Brothers A Tale of Two Sons, reminiscing on the days when Overwatch did their jobs. These quick shots of our characters foreshadow how they fight in the upcoming action sequence, a fast-paced tango between Tracer and Widowmaker, and a Wakefield gun show between Winston and Reaper that spans only 2 minutes. In this 5-minute cinematic, you learn so much about the characters. It's clear who the villains are and what they're after, and the morals of the heroes who protect the children before they protect the artifact that their enemies are after. The last line of dialogue happens after the older brother protects his younger brother and the heroes, retroactively damaging the artifact. Even after the fight is moved elsewhere, Tracer takes the time to stop, gives hope to the two boys.
You know, the world could always use more heroes.
Carefully places the damaged gauntlet back in its broken cage before running off to rejoin the fight. That's the entire message of Overwatch in 5 minutes. You haven't even seen the other cool characters yet, but you know the core message of this game is to be a beacon of hope. But let's not get sappy, let's talk about style. Overwatch animations are exactly what I wanted out of modern 3D animation. It's the perfect blend of stylistic and realistic and makes for a very pleasing medium to look at. And the detail the animators put into facial expressions and body movements to indicate emotions makes it so easy to understand the emotion the directors are trying to get out of the viewer. For its high action scenes, the fight scenes are easy to interpret, although at times the movement you're looking for just isn't there. The one thing I would fault Blizzard for is the stillness of the camera when there isn't any action happening. When conversation is taking place, it just so happens that the camera is only capable of over-the-shoulder shots and cuts between faces. The billions of dollars used to design this museum probably could have ended world hunger. A Kardashian could live here and we'd have no clue. It's clear the animators just wanted a big arena for a good fight. Rather than making the characters adapt to their settings, the setting is adapted for the characters. Just like how the fight between D.Va and the Omnix over the water is very intriguing with an open-air fight sequence, but it's not really interesting enough to really show us what D.Va's Ava unit is capable of. Genji and Hanzo have intertwined stories using the dragons of the North and the South Wind, characters from their culture that represents both of them. And the work the visual artists did on the story they tell is spectacular. Even the art style is similar to that of ancient Japanese scroll arts. And watching samurai and ninjas at work is always a treat, but the other characters can feel a little clunky to watch move around. But hey, that's realism. Let's talk about the music of Overwatch. If you're an Overwatch fan, come on, you know who this cinematic is for. The chimes of the xylophone remind the listener of the strings of a spider's web, and it's just that 12-note melody. And to be honest, that's the only memorable OST Overwatch has. Aside from its in-game intro screen, the music in its cinematics aren't very memorable, unfortunately. I mean, like, the orchestrated background music in cinematics is good, right? But it's not memorable. Alive is, dare I say, the most memorable piece of music that Overwatch has to offer. After the disassembly development of Overwatch 1, there were so many loose ends left untouched. And instead of tying the knots together, they just gave us new characters like Sojourn and Junker Queen, neither of whom I will speak about because I love women so much that I have nothing productive to say. Despite everything that happened with Blizzard during the end and eventual recreation of Overwatch, the Overwatch 2 trailer dropped and brought the viewers hope that it may be just as good, if not better. Remember, there's 2 years of time between Overwatch 1 and Overwatch 2. The music in previous cinematics was nothing stellar, but the sound that plays during the arrival of the large Omnic gave me legitimate goosebumps. And some hope for the future of Overwatch. Not only did Blizzard up their sound design and animation systems, it felt as though they dusted off their orchestra to provide some of the best music to come out of Overwatch, paired with the moving camera to showcase the extent of their abilities, almost made the wait worth it. It's predictable that the cast would show up at the perfect time, yes, but the catharsis of seeing it happen and hearing it happen just cemented the feeling of it happening. We were so back.
Does this mean Overwatch is back?
No.
Overwatch's gameplay plummeted. Note to the wise, your game probably doesn't need a battle pass. Blizzard seemed to have cleaned up every facet of their cinematic shorts that could have been cleaned up or expanded upon. There are no deaf characters in Overwatch, but the Overwatch 2 cinematic for Kiriko uses ASL anyways. The animators put the work into getting sign language right anyways. That is worth noting because inclusivity in cinema matters. But with the lack of out-of-game content and the lack of loved characters in-game and the surplus of game glitches and broken promises, a lot of the audience lost interest. Before the Blizzard breakdown, the animators knew how to make hilarious visual gags. Just take a look at some of these from Overwatch 1.
The door. Sombra.
Extraction at 32%.
The scenes just felt funnier and lighter, while the scenes post-bullshit are taking itself way too seriously, or the gags are things we've seen a million times before. Of course, it's a good thing that the company is taking itself more seriously after the allegations, but the content still should have been as easy to palate as the ones from before. You don't want the seriousness of the accusations to seep into your actual game lore. That's why they changed McCree's name to Cassidy. Right? A core value of Overwatch is that even though the world is dark, be someone who tries to produce some good anyways. According to the cinematic called Recall, the whole game is based on the idea that Winston saw the news that Omnics were starting to terrorize human establishments again. But now disbanded and with laws in place to stop heroes from reuniting due to their damage to infrastructure, he hesitates in recalling the battalion as Athena, his Alexa, reminds him of all the reasons he shouldn't. But he does. Let's take a moment to talk about how this video game about heroes produced some real-life villains. Activision Blizzard agreed to pay $35 million to resolve claims in February of 2023. The claim states that Blizzard Animations had created a culture of constant sexual harassment and gender-based discrimination. The details of this lawsuit are disturbing, so here's a trigger warning right now. Female employees at Blizzard nearly universally admitted that working at this company was like working at a frat house. The Verge says that as a product of the frat boy culture in which male employees drank frivolously and harassed female employees, women were subjected to numerous sexual comments and advances. What's even worse is that the supervisors knew about these allegations for years and at times egged the behavior on. One allegation reads, the manager commented that they could not risk promoting a woman as she might get pregnant and like being a mom. Another reads, employees were allegedly discouraged from complaining as human resource personnel were known to be close to alleged harassers. This is something that makes the Blizzard situation so alarming to consider. The company that's been producing cinema-style entertainment about heroes who wanted to serve and protect was being produced and managed by these twisted, sick supervisors who took advantage of so many people in the workplace. This fact made it so uncomfortable to sit through these cinematics I once adored. We have to remember that those who stayed want these stories to be told. There are innocent hands crafting the art, music, characters, and gameplay of this video game. And I hope that by making this video and including all the things that happened within Blizzard, I am doing a bit of a service to their work. And I have the utmost respect for the women who came forward in this lawsuit. I know it's not easy. With that being said, let's admire the work of the brave souls who continue to work on this game. For the style of Overwatch, I give it a 7.5 6.5 out of 10 with points docked because of the very still camera angles. For animation, I give it a 9 out of 10 for the blend of realism and stylism. For music composition, I give it a 6 out of 10 because although Overwatch 2's trailer had an amazing orchestra, it's just not that memorable. For setting design, I give it a 5 out of 10 because most settings are immemorable and also not that interesting to look at. For moral of the story, I give it 6 out of 10. Although the moral is nice, the company failed to produce the type of people that would make this type of game. These scores average out to 6.7 out of 10 for Overwatch, which was actually a lot lower than I was ever expecting to give this game. I also didn't touch on The Last Bastion at all because that's literally the perfect cinematic, no notes whatsoever. In fact, just because of The Last Bastion, I'm just gonna add an extra point to the overall score. Congratulations Overwatch for the 7.7 out of 10. Let's see how League of Legends fares against this score in the next video.